Hey there, my gorgeous friends on the internet, and welcome to the Ultimate JavaScript Animation course. Yay! Hope you are excited as much as we are here. This is our favorite course that we made so far. We love design and animations, and hope you're excited just as much as we are. Now, this is going to be a full-on project-based course. You're going to learn everything about scroll-based animations, page transitions, micro animations, pretty much every fun stuff that you see out there on the internet. We're probably going to have something on it in here. So in this chapter, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why we use animations in the first place, and then give you a couple of little examples of animations made with CSS and vanilla JavaScript. Okay, just like a basic introduction. If you've never done things with keyframes before, or class togglings or stuff like that, then stick around. If you've done that, if you've done a bit of animations before, feel free to skip to chapter 2, where we start building out our first project with an awesome library. Okay, so in this episode, I just want to talk a little bit about why we use animations. Now, we can make websites just using HTML and CSS without any animations, and it's going to be fully functional, fully fine. Everybody's going to be happy. And that's true. However, I'm going to say that for the most of us, that might be quite boring, okay? We're not too different from puppies. We like things just moving around and bouncing and jumping, and it catches our attention. So that's probably one of the main reasons why you want to use animations on your website. It makes your website a bit more unique. It's way more engaging for the user, and it's just exciting and fun. So I'm just going to show you a couple of websites here that I think are cool. This is from awards.com. You can check it out. This is like the perfect place to get inspired. So we have here base at home. So one thing that animations help us in this case, as you can see, when we hover over this, it has this nice fading out, indicating that we can click on this and it's clickable. We have this text popping up here. So rather than having it there by default, having it animate in directs our attention right to this part of our website. So imagine you have a product that you want to sell. You can have your buy button here that's animating in, and a little text about it to get people interested in. So rather than them just glaring at the nav bar or picture or random text, if you have this little animation here, they're gonna look right over here. Now, I think even if you click on cart here, I believe it was on this website. So when we click here, as you can see, the rest of the page slowly fades out, whilst the nav bar, or cart I should say, slowly slides out from the right. So again, it shifts your attention to this part of the screen. So this is very powerful. And you're going to see this quite a lot on a lot of big websites. Now, another thing that it helps us is just make your designs a bit more fun. So rather than having this static here, we can put more information in, and having this slide from the right to left, giving this kind of like infinite look. So it helps you make your designs look a bit nicer. Let's see what else is here. Let's see what's clickable. So here as well, let me scroll back up. In this case here, we have this nice circle expanding whilst we scroll, which also helps just separate the first page from the second one here. Again, we have this scroll-based slide here, which makes our designs look a bit more interesting. I'm sorry if this is a bit laggy. It's just the frame rate of this video, which is going to make it look like that. So animations also help us give users directions on what to do. So in this case here, as you can see, if I hover over this bubble pops up saying play. All right, so it helps users also navigate the page a bit easier. And I believe this website had it. Look at this. Look at that page transition. How nice is that? So it also, like in this case, it gives that application feel to the website, which makes it more seamless, more engaging, and just pleasant to look at. Let's click back here. Rather than having the page refresh and having this flash on the screen of white page, it keeps the user more engaged and more curious. Same goes here at the top here, right? We have this section slowly sliding in. Rather than having the image just instantly pop up on the screen like that scary maze game, like buh. If you remember that one, it was an old internet thing. It slides in nicely, which is quite organic. Everything in this world has like a starting and finishing point, right? So if you move your hands, you see a car on the street, you see a tree getting blown away by the wind, right? It has a nice movement to it. Rather, nothing's really jittery or pop. Nothing really pops in instantly in the real world. So it adds that organic look to it. Okay, I've been just talking a lot. We should just start getting and doing stuff now. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so in this one, let's just look at some CSS animations and the primary ways of doing them. So in this case here, I just have an empty index.html and an empty style.css. So if you want to follow along, feel free. If not, that's fine as well. We're not really building out anything here, so just enjoy back and watch if you want to. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold Shift and 1, which is gonna give me an exclamation mark, and hit Tab. So that's just gonna generate a kind of a boilerplate HTML here for us, like the basic structure of it. Let me make this font a little bit smaller for us so we can fit in more content. So I'm just gonna add a button here. We're gonna keep this extremely, extremely simple. So let's call this Hover Me. So one way to add animations is with transitions. So let's go here. I'm gonna just open this up with Live Server. So if you don't have this, feel free to go over to the extension tab and search up Live Server. Okay, install this. Should look like this. This wonderful Wi-Fi 6G icon. Okay. So once you have installed, you can right click on your index.html and open with Live Server. Okay, it pulled it up on the other screen, unfortunately. So let me just drag it here for you. It won't drag. Why you do this to me? It's the other way, that way. All right, there we go. There's our Hover Me button. Wonderful. So what I'm gonna do is just center it here on the screen for us. So I'm gonna go over to style.css. I'm gonna just grab the body. So body, I'm gonna add a display flex to it, which allows us to center the button in the middle of the screen. So the way we do that is I'm just gonna add a height to this body. So I'm gonna say 100 VH. So 100 VH basically takes up the full size of the viewport. So depending on your monitor, depending on your size, it's just gonna take up this whole space, okay? So there we go. So if I just add a background color to illustrate this, I'm gonna say gray and hit save. Now it doesn't work because I need to link my style sheet here. So let's just grab this style.css and hit save. All right, so there we go, full screen right there. So if I do 50 VH, it's gonna basically take up 50% of my monitor's height. Now maybe I should have added this in a section because it's not going to work on the body. So let me just do something called just a section. Oops. Section like this. Let me paste the button in here, hit save, and just change this to section. There we go. Okay, so it's going to take up half of the screen. Perfect. So let's do it full now and take out the background here. And all I'm gonna do is say justify content center. That's gonna drop it horizontally. And if I do align item center, that's gonna do it vertically for us right there. I'm gonna increase the size of the button a little bit. So I'm gonna do button, add a bit of padding to it. I can do 1 rem and 2 rem. There we go, so it's a bit larger. And then let's increase the font size of it, 2 rem. Oh, that's super big, 1.5. There we go, just so we have something on the screen here. Let's also get rid of that border. I'm gonna say none. There we go. I'm gonna change the color of this to white. And just increase the background. I'm gonna say black. Well, an off black, really. I'm not gonna do fully black. There we go, hit save. There we go. So I don't wanna do full black because then the contrast is gonna be a bit too harsh on the eyes with that white. It's literally on the opposite spectrum. So there we go. Okay, so one way we can do it is by adding a transition. So let's say I wanna add a hover effect to it. So when I hover over the button, I want to change the background. So I'm just going to copy over this background from here. Paste it here and just make the color a bit lighter. So I'm going to hover over it and just drag this a bit up. Okay. Now when we do it, boop, boop, it's instant. It looks a bit weird, but it works. So to animate this property to this one, all we have to do is go over to the button and add a transition to it. So transition takes in a couple of parameters here. The first one is going to be the name. So which property do you want to animate? So whether it's color, whether it's the border, the font size, the background. In this case, we want to do the background. So I want to animate the background, and then I need to give it a duration. So in this case, I'm going to do 0.75. And then I also need to give it an easing. So in this case, I'm not going to do any easing. Okay, so let's see. Still doesn't work. I believe we do need to add seconds here. So 0.75 seconds, like that. And there we go. Look at that. We have that nicely animating in and animating out. Let me make this a bit brighter just so you can see, or maybe add a little color to it just to make it a bit more visible. And there we go. That's even harder to see. I'm going to make it super blue. Bam. Okay, there we go. That's nice. All right. So here, as a third property, we can also add an easing. Now, what is easing? It's basically how you... So the animation does last 0.75 seconds, but the way it transitions over to this color is very linear. So it starts at the same speed and ends at the same speed. GSAP has a great resource here to visualize easings. So the one we have here currently is called linear. So if I pull this up for you here, we can easily visualize this. Here we go. Let me drop it in here. There we go. So if we go over here, let's see, does it have linear? It might not have linear, you know, just custom, oh, none. Okay, so this is what's happening with our animation right now. It starts off, it goes the same speed, right? It lasts for 1 second. How much is this? I believe they have like 2 seconds on here, but as you can see, it goes the same speed. Now, if we add a little curve to it, like power 1 here, with an ease out, as you can see, it starts faster and it slows down towards the end. Now the duration is the same. Oh, here we go. It's 2.5 seconds. The duration is the same. It's just in that 2.5 seconds, how does it actually behave? So easings are quite nice to use. I feel like they make animations look a bit more natural. You can imagine a car driving by and then just suddenly stopping. Like, it's not very natural, right? So when you have something move, it usually comes, like when it stops, it slows down in a smooth fashion. In this case, with none, it just, as soon as it gets to the finish line, boop, it just instantly stops. So this is like an ease out. There's many ones like elastic, which can be quite fun to use. Rough, oh, this is not nice. But yeah, there we go. So in our case, we'll just add an ease out. Ease in is the same, it just literally eases in. It starts slower and then it speeds up, but we're gonna use ease out. So let's go back here. I'm going to close up this GSAP and let's see when we hover over it now. Look at that. It has a nice slowing at the end there. Okay, so that's one way that we can use animations with transitions. So it doesn't necessarily need to be hover here. In the next episode, I'm going to show you how we can add an animation with a class in JavaScript. So I'll see you in that part. Okay, now probably one of the most popular ways that you're going to see animations used out there on the internet, and the simplest ways to add animations to your website, is just toggling classes with JavaScript. So I'm going to give you a little example here. Let's say this hover button is going to act kind of like a menu. So when we click it, we have a menu sliding up and down. So let's see how we can pull that off. So I just made a new nav here called Yoshi. All right, just a simple nav with a paragraph called Yoshi. We just got a Shiba Inu, so we're just using the Yoshi name everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna just take this nav, add a little bit of height to it. I'm gonna say min height 10 VH, add a little background color. I'm just gonna copy this one over from the button, paste it in here. Let's take a look at that. So there we go. We have that, and then we have our Yoshi text there. Okay, cool. So let's center that. We can just do a display flex. And again, if we just do justify content center and the line item center, it's going to drop it right there in the middle. Let's also change the color to white. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So what I want to do now is I want to add a position. We can do actually a transform, translate. Now, if we use Y here and do 50%, look at that. That's going to move 50% of it down based on its size. Okay, so basically half of this is going to push it down. Now, if I want to push it down all the way, I can say 100%, right? But I want it in the opposite direction. So I want minus 100%, which is going to push it all the way up so we cannot see it. All right, so 50%, just so you can see, refresh. I'm not sure why this got stuck. Goes right there to the center where Yoshi is. So we can use this property to basically toggle it. So again, all I need to do is go out here and maybe do a toggle class. I can name it nav slide. And all I need to do is say transform, translate Y minus 100%. And now if you remember, we need to add that transition. So transition, the name of it is transform. So that's what I want to animate. The duration, let's say 1 second. I'm going to do an ease out, easing. Okay, and hit save on that. Perfect. So now in app.js, again, I just linked, I haven't even linked it. You can just create a file called app.js, go here below, right above the body tag here, the closing body tag, just add a script and hit tab, and the source, set that equal to /app.js. Okay, we're just linking them together. So here what I want to do now is select the button and select the nav. So when I click on the button, I want to animate the nav. So let's just select both, const button. All right, we're creating a variable. And the way we can select it is with document dot query selector. And here in quotes, I'll just pass in the button. And next we can grab the nav the same way. We just need to change the text here to nav. Okay, now what I want to do is on the button, so button dot, we can add a method called add event listener. So this can be either scroll, click, focus, a bunch of other stuff. But in our case, we want a click. So when our users click on something, I want to run a function. We're going to use an arrow function here, which looks like this. All right, so it's parentheses and an equal sign and a bigger than sign and curly brackets. All right, so basically when you click on the button, run everything inside here. So what do I want to do? Grab that nav, class list, dot add. So I want to add a class. Now, which class do I want to add? the nav slide. So I can say nav slide and hit save. All right, so now when I click on this, boom, that fades out. Perfect. Now let me go back here and actually make this a bit faster. I can do 0.75, hit save. So when we click on it, that goes away. Now if I click on it again, nothing happens because we already added that to it. So how can we toggle it? Well, thankfully in JavaScript, we have a little method here that's called toggle. So it basically detects, it's kind of like an if statement. If it has the class on it and we click on it, remove it. If it doesn't have on it, add it. So let's hit save. So there we go, and click, and there we go. Now there's a little problem. It just pops in, which is, I mean, as you can see, it's not as nice as it's fading out. So why does that happen? That's quite a common issue that you might experience, is make sure you don't add the transition on the class that you're adding to your element. Because if you think about it, when we're removing the class, we're also removing the transition. So it's not gonna know how to transition back in or back out. So always, always add your transitions on the element and not on the class that you want to animate in. Okay? And that's it. There we go. We can click out and click in, and there we go. We have a nice animation running here. Now we can probably make it even a bit slower. Again, on this monitor, I'm running it at 30 FPS, so it looks a bit weird for me, but that's it. That's much better. Okay, now if you want to do multiple properties, that's not a problem. You can just go here and say, I want opacity 1, okay? And then here, opacity 0, and that's it. Now it doesn't work. As you can see, it doesn't work because we need to transition the opacity as well. So we can just change this to all actually, and then whatever we add in here, it's going to transition it for us. So now let's see, boom. It's just the other way. Unfortunately, we want to go from 1 to 0. Now I can remove this because I want to show you something. Let me just remove that. Click, fades in, fades out. There we go. Perfect. Let me refresh this again. And there we go. That's it. Now, one problem with this is it's nice and you can pull off quite easy things. It's when you want to add multiple things that it becomes a bit more difficult. So just imagine that you want to slide this in, and once this finishes, you want the text to pop up. So that gets a bit more complicated because you have to make multiple classes and maybe add a delay here of like 1 second to the text popping up. So you have to time everything perfectly. So in this case, if I want that to happen, for this to pop in and then for the text to just appear, let me just get rid of this opacity. I don't like it as much. So this sliding in and then the text popping up, for that I would need to add another class here. So I'll do maybe, let me just grab that paragraph for you really quickly. So again, this is Yoshi pretty much. So I'll just do P class list toggle. I'll make one called fade. Okay. So let me go here. I'll make the fade and I'll just add an opacity to 1 like that. And it goes from 0. So let me do P from opacity 0 to opacity 1, right? So when I click it, it's actually the other way. I keep messing up the, so it's from 1 to 0, right? Hit save, let's see. So when we click it, it fades in. When we click it, it fades out. Perfect. So let's add a transition to it. So transition, fade, 0.5 ease out. Hit save. Okay, so click. It's not fading in. Let's see why not. Oh, not fade. Opacity is the one I want to do. Okay. And look at that. Still doesn't do it. Let's see why not. Oh, forgot the S here. Okay. See, it's been such a long time since I even used these transitions. I just generally don't touch it. I do everything through GSAP, which is a library that we're going to get into. That I forgot about it. So let's go here, and there we go. Now it fades in and fades out. But again, I want to time it, so this goes down first and then it fades in. So for that, I need to add a delay here on the slider. So the animation runs for 0.5 seconds, and then let's do 0.5 seconds here as the delay. So there we go. So again, it gets complicated now because actually the delay should be on the other one, shouldn't it? Oh, I'm such a silly goose. Here we go. I want this to happen instantly, but this to fade in. Okay, so click and then it fades in. Perfect. Click, fade in. Okay, now again, if you have multiple different animations running, you're gonna have to keep calculating how much do I need to delay this, how much do I need to delay that. It gets a bit frustrating. But anyway, that's it. Again, sorry for dragging out a bit too long, but I hope you got a general understanding on how to do basic animations in JavaScript. So let's move on finally to more fun stuff and get our first project up and running. I'll see you there.